evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to Beer Blather 230, the Hogwash Czar. Oh well, the cretinous curmudgeon is no more. Faced with a Godfather option he could not refuse, that is, withdraw from the campaign or we give you a 25th Amendment enema, he chose not to have the enema. And just like that, the moron who was supposed to be his political insurance was catapulted to the candidacy on the shoulders of the Clintons, while Obama proved he is still the most intelligent person in the room only when he's alone taking a crap, and his early resistance melted away in 5 days. A woman who never got a single vote in the Democratic primary, by virtue of this palace coup, is now the presumptive nominee. As long as the delegates play ball, we'll see about that. Brave defenders of democracy, these satraps be. Now comes the whitewashing of Miss Harris's storefront. No pun intended. A useless moron prone to destroying the English language, perplex audiences with strings of nonsensical inanities, and used to failing at just about everything she ever tried, with the possible exception of arousing Willie Brown and Montel Williams, needs to be transformed into a stateswoman and a foreign policy wonk. Good luck with that. Imagine her at a NATO meeting. So, Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically, that's wrong. And I'm actually quoting the dimwit. At which point, those who are not rolling on the floor in laughter will leave the room in a panic. That poor, ignorant, entitled, retarded harridan is no world leadership material. The Democrats know it. I know it. You know it. Thomas knows it. Hell, even my dog knows it. No amount of perfume will cover the stench, and no amount of favorable press coverage will cover her flaccid, used up, disgusting arse. The Empress is naked. In November, put the blubbering idiot out. And just so that we know where we are doing this. This is Almond S. Bradley, the largest human repository of useless information from somewhere in freaking North Carolina. And right there is Thomas Victor, the only living expert in World War I flamethrowers, suffering California because, he decided this is the only way into heaven. Pay for all your sins in advance by putting up with the land of fruits and flakes. God, I can't say the things that I'm thinking about, Thomas. This is a problem always. We are doing this in our Quod Verum TV channel in Odyssey, and that is where the only chat will be reading lies. So if you're watching us in Twitter or in YouTube, make sure to click in the description. There is a link that will bring you to our Odyssey broadcast, and there you can participate in the chat and ask your questions. Whatever you write everywhere else will be there forever and ever, because the internet never dies. Unless the Russians and Chinese hack it, or you happen to be Kamala. We're going to talk about that in a second with Thomas. So come over here and ask your questions. If you want to contribute to these shows, please do. We make it easy for you. By the way, you don't necessarily have to contribute in YouTube. If you do, thank you very much. But if you want to do it, come and do it at either quadverum.com/support us, or through the links in the Odyssey broadcast support. It will come to the channel. Or click on the $sign. It will come to the chat. Or God forbid, join us as a member and make sure that we're still around for some time to come. I know that tonight I was trying to get home, but the time caught up with me thanks to a tropical storm, and I had to fork out $170 so I could be in this meeting. So you get the idea. Otherwise, we would have had to cancel. Thomas, have I bored you already with all of this?
Well, I'm looking at your hotel room. Are those walls really olive drab? Are they an olive color?
They are kind of like baby shit brown.
Wow.
With sliding depending on the light. So that $170 so you can get a baby shit brown room. I think it's an abuse. Let me get the blurring out so you can see it better. Then I'm gonna blur it again. Where is it? Settings. There you go. At least I got pillows.
Yeah. Wow, that's really amazing.
Look at that thing.
Yeah.
And there is a nondescript picture. I don't know where the crap they get the pictures for this room or why they even bother. Because they're uglier than the opening ceremony at the French Olympiads.
Well, I can tell you where they got the paintings or the pictures. One of my attempted jobs when I came back from Japan and I moved to the Bay Area was I answered a call and they told me they couldn't tell me what the job was until I was actually doing it. So I went out on the road with this guy and he wouldn't tell me what the job was. All he did was brag about how much money he was making and how much money he had. He started every other sentence with, I don't know how many 23-year-old guys are, and then he would tell me what he had. So we went to a hotel, and we went in and we asked to speak to the manager. And this guy said, we just finished a decorating job for Bob Jones. You know Mr. Jones? He's a little short, fat guy with bald hair. And we have all these paintings left over and we can give them to you at an 80% discount. He recommended we come over and they said, no, we're not interested. We spent all day doing that, didn't make one sale. And then on the way home, the guy said, I can tell you're not into this job. And I said, not even in the slightest. So what they did in this company, so-called, they bought garbage. Then they pretended that they just finished a high-end decorating job and had all these things left over that they would sell at an 80% discount. Didn't make a single sale. This guy was telling me sales is all, 90% of the time you don't make a sale. And it's like, that's not true at all. It depends on what you're selling and how you sell it.
Depends on what you're selling. If you're selling shit, it's a numbers game.
Yeah.
There is a 3% of people who will buy just about any shit. You have to find them.
Yeah.
No, so for every 100 people you try, you make 3 sales. But that's only when you're selling shit. Try to sell a good product at a good price, and the numbers are completely different.
Absolutely. And this was, I'm not a door-to-door salesman. They should have told me what the frigging job was before I went out there and wasted a whole day with this guy who was, by the end of the day, I wanted to throttle him. He was the most obnoxious guy I'd ever met. He had a little Errol Flynn mustache. And he got a call from his wife. He was already married at 23. And they called each other babe. And then after he hung up, he told me about how in love he was with her. and then he turned on some music, and he said this always makes him sad, so he's going to cry now. And he went, and little tears rolled down his face, and I was just like, how did this happen? How did I end up here? Like, am I dead? Am I dead and I went to hell? Like, how is this possible that this guy and his company represent everything I hate
Yeah.
universally?
That's when you decided to stay in California and pay your sins in advance, so you didn't have to spend eternity with a guy like that.
Well, what I ended up doing was I was a what would you call it? I was a document retrieval specialist, and I retrieved documents for lawsuits and did all my own driving, paid for my own gas, and was paid a fixed salary based on I mean, regardless of how many hours I worked. And after a year, I left San Francisco because, like, you know, nothing that I'd done in Japan was actually, at the time, could actually be marketed here in the United States. So I basically was starting over at the age of 29. And
Hmm.
that's when I came here. I started working for my parents, and I became a writer, a music journalist, and I did both of them until the parents passed away. So, but you know, it was California was a different place. San Francisco was well on the way to where it is today, as
Yeah.
late as or as early as the late '90s. I think Willie Brown was the
Yeah.
mayor around then.
Yeah. Well, no, but let me see. What wasn't Gruesome the mayor of San Francisco that replaced Dianne Feinstein?
Okay, Willie Brown was mayor at some point. He was speaker of the legislature in California, and he became mayor of San Francisco. And I think Newsom followed him, and then I don't know who was after Newsom. Is it this London Breed woman? Um,
Yes.
so, but the last time I was in San Francisco was 2001, and the whole city smelled of urine, like everywhere you went. So anyway, that's California for you. This ain't the place that I used to come to from the late '60s up until everything started changing in the 1980s.
Yes.
But California really did used to be a golden state. It was as
Oh
good
God,
as
it was fantastic.
exactly.
It
Um,
was fantastic. The lifestyle. Everything was different from most of the U.S. From the eateries, you know, those eateries that weren't really a deli nor a fast food with amazing freaking cakes. Those American graffiti style gathering places with fountains. That's what I remember from my first trip. Uh,
well,
Other than, of course, In and Out and Big Boy and all that jazz. But there was a vibe to it all that you didn't get anywhere else in the country.
the first time I remember coming here was 1967 when I was 5 years old, and we went to Disneyland, height of the summer, and my mother took pictures. There's nobody in the park. That was back
Yep,
in the days where you bought a book of tickets, and the e-ticket let you ride on the best rides, and then it worked its way down to, you know,
yep.
the ticket or whatever. And they had good restaurants with different food. If you go to Disneyland today, all the different restaurants serve the same menu.
Say the same shit. You're
And
lucky if you can get a hot dog that doesn't taste like cardboard. I
exactly,
remember a Japanese restaurant in Disneyland.
yeah, and they had amazing rides, the jungle ride, the submarine ride, all this stuff. The submarine ride had live mermaids who had hidden they had little oxygen tanks that they would take, you know, sips from, and all of that the profit motive took over. The last time I was at Disneyland, they had people pushers with shields, body shields with two handles, and they would stand and they would funnel people into different places in the park. And all the rides had waiting periods, 3 hours,
Yeah.
4 hours. And it was just, I mean, you were shoulder to shoulder. They had music everywhere, everywhere, ear splitting music. It was a nightmare. I don't ever want to go again.
No, 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 no. And the cost of getting in nowadays, it way back when, I would go to Epcot Center in Disney World, which was much closer to my abode in Florida. And in Epcot, there was a British pub
Mhm.
that was very, very good, actually. And there was always an old lady playing the piano. She was from London.
Mhm.
And I used to go there and I'd romp with the old lady till they close us down with the fireworks. And I would pay the entrance to the park as a fee to get to the pub. Today I wouldn't do that. I mean, it's what, $150? You gotta be freaking kidding me.
Well, let's see, Disney ticket prices throughout the years. Alrighty. I went in 67. Here's 65. The price for an adult in 1965 was $7.30.
Yeah. Which is, by the way, 65, 75, 85, 95, 60. So let's say 6 times. It would be under $50 today, adjusted
Yeah.
for inflation.
Yeah.
I used to pay $120 per year for a year pass
Mhm.
in Orlando. And that's why, whenever I was in town, I'd go to the pub. And there was a Moroccan restaurant in there too that was superb. They have a lamb couscous, second to none. But not anymore. They can shove it. And now it's like you have to pay a prince ransom to become sardine in a can.
Well, and also there's endless fights in Disneyland. So,
Yeah.
who needs it? But it's funny. Okay, I just looked up the price now, and it just took me a couple seconds. Um, you and I discovered something about Kamala Harris in terms of looking up information about her, didn't we?
Yes, we did, didn't we? The sons of bitches move fast.
Hmm.
I didn't expect that.
I didn't.
Shall we tell the folks?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was asking Thomas to look for some things on a private window on a
I use Firefox.
you use Firefox and but every browser will have a privacy mode or a privacy window, the different names, and let me see if I have it here. Yeah, on Edge, for instance, they do call it privacy mode, and I actually have a search there. I don't know if I can show it to you,
Firefox.
but that would make it easier.
Firefox is called private window.
Private window, and let me show you this thing. And I love it, because in Edge you open the private window and they say, do you want to sign in or stay signed out? Yeah, like I went to the private window so I can tell you who I am, you stupid ass.
Yeah.
Let me see if it shows here. Hold on.
Okay, now what we discovered
yeah.
was only it. I was on Google, so I don't know if anybody.
Yeah, no, it's gonna work. It's gonna work. Give me 1 second here.
Oh, you're right. Google will be the same on all browsers.
Yes, there you are. And you can see a search that I just put in there so that we can see. And when you do the search, you put the question, is Russia important to X? And it gives you a number of options. Is Russia important to the world? Why is Moscow important to Russia? Why is Russia important? Now, all of these things, when you do it in a private window, what you're doing is finding out what people are searching for, because this is not adjusted to your own search patterns, which would completely change the results. Guess what happened when you put
Was Kamala Harris border czar?
Yeah, was Kamala
That's exactly
Harris
there. See, it stops.
border. It stops when you put Kamala Harris. Look at this.
Yep. Kamala Khan blipped. No idea what that means.
And kamikaze and all that jazz. So the moment you finish Kamala, Harris,
Yep.
there you go. Nothing.
Google has sanitized all searches for Kamala Harris.
No suggestions, no nothing. She didn't exist.
Yep.
Hmm?
This is election interference, if you want to be frank about it.
Well, you know what I think, as we've always discussed, everything is election interference. But this is just completely out of the pale. I mean, and the same thing happens with just about everything around here. They are sanitizing this useless blob and trying to make it difficult for you to find out when she was bragging about being border czar.
Well,
Oh, remember when she went? I think it was Face the Nation. It could have been another stupid program. Have you gone to the border yet? The flowers in May are blooming. Yeah, but have you gone to the border? I like French cuisine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you haven't gone to the border, have you? I haven't gone to Europe either.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, people.
Well, luckily, none of this is working. I mean, they had Carville come out on MSNBC, I think, and just say, this is not going to work. She's, he was spooling out all the stupidest things she'd ever said. This is too big to cover up. They would have needed at least a year to completely rejigger her public image.
Like I said in the opening statement, to whitewash her storefront.
Exactly. And it even in a year, it wouldn't have worked with her because she's so frigging stupid. It's impossible for her to present herself as anything other than a jerk or an idiot. She has, those are her two settings.
Yes.
She's not likable in any way. She's a weirdo, and they all know this. I mean, this is why Kamala washed out of the Democratic primary in 2020. And they're now saying that the Kamala of 2020 is different.
And remember, she didn't even make it to the first primary.
No, she didn't. She was polling at less than 1%. I think Marianne Williamson was polling in the double digits by that time.
Can you believe the palm reader from LA was polling better than her?
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
Normal people aren't buying this. And weirdos, social media weirdos and Hollywood weirdos, they're over pushing, they're overselling her. And it just rubs everyone the wrong way, because I just read that a poll by one of the biggies says that the majority of the country blames Kamala for Biden's disasters because they believe that Biden had no ability to make decisions on his own. So first they screwed themselves by running a man with dementia. Then they screwed themselves by replacing him with the least electable Democrat out there. As you pointed out, Barack Obama was holding off endorsing her, and then he suddenly did a 180 and endorsed her with open arms because he discovered that he's not the power behind the throne. He's nobody.
No, remember when I told you last week that the Biden people had thrown the Obama staffers out of the West Wing,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a rift?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if he didn't discover then he's not the power behind the throne, he's not the puppet master, he's a sock puppet.
Mm-hmm.
And he's finding out.
Let's be clear. We're not saying that there's a Democratic cabal, a well-defined Democratic cabal. We think it's a loose confederation of donors and,
Yep.
and probably mostly donors. And
I was going to say heavy on the donors, baby, because when the Biden collapsed, when the donors essentially let the party know not another fucking dime while that asshole is the candidate.
right. And okay, I heard something in Clinton was elected for the first time in 94, right?
Clinton, 92.
92. Okay.
I'll never forget that awful day. I was at the hotel inside the Miami airport watching the returns, and I almost jumped out of the window.
Well, I heard a guy say it must have been around, if he was 92, this must have been around 93. And I thought this guy was absolutely full of it. I thought he was just a conspiracy theorist. But he said that in the Democratic Party, whoever's going to be president basically has to send out word that he will do what he's told by the donors, that the donors will set the agenda. And at the time, I thought this is ridiculous. Obviously, the president has power, but we've seen that Biden had no power. Obama has no power.
And not just the presidency.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I remember a very, very dear friend of mine was the mayor of Coral Gables once. And a guy that was very powerful in the community, a builder, came to her asking her to put one of his acquaintances in a peculiar position that was favorable to him. And she refused.
Mm-hmm.
And after she refused, he said something like, well, I'm very disappointed that you do that. You would have had a wonderful second term.
Mm-hmm.
Just remember this moment in your retirement. And a year later, she lost her bid for re-election in exactly the terms that he described. And she was telling me, people think they elect anything around here. They don't.
Well, this is why it's so important that Trump and after Trump, Trumpian figures, if they can exist, we elect people like that who will not be beholden to anybody. I can't think of another. Okay, I know that people are hoping J.D. Vance will carry the torch. Vance doesn't have a vast personal fortune.
No.
So what I'm hoping,
A very modest one at that.
right. What I'm hoping is that well, I'm not going to get into that just because that's putting the cart before the horse. But
yeah.
In the case of the Democrats, at least, we know, we've seen it now. They pushed out a president. They crammed a former president who's supposed to be a big cheese. They crammed him face first into the mud.
Yep.
And they put, in their infinite wisdom, they put an absolute flop in to replace a guy who is also a flop.
Well, there are those. I really don't know if she's going to be the candidate yet.
True, you're right about that.
Because a lot of water needs to go under that bridge.
Mm-hmm.
I was told by the same people who told me that weekend at Bernie's, Biden was confronted with a Don Corleone style option, an option he can't refuse. Either you step down from the campaign or we invoke the 25th Amendment and pull you out of here ignominiously.
Mm-hmm.
And he eventually relented after 3 days. And then he turned around and endorsed Kamala, I'm told, as a big fuck you to the very people who, oh, you don't want me in? Deal with this, bitch. I fully endorse Kamala Harris. She's going to be wonderful. That's why Obama at first refused to jump into the bandwagon. They are saying, after a week of arm twisting and all kinds of mafia offerings, that Harris has 51% of the delegates. Do you have any proof of that?
No, she has no delegates at this point.
She has 0 delegates, but apparently 51% of the delegates said, okay, I'll vote for her. But I'm sure they're all waiting for an alternative. And that's why the people who are trying to push this shit are so desperately trying to sell her as what she's not. No, she was never the czar. No, she had nothing to do with. She's a staunch supporter of Israel. Really?
Yeah, which she then immediately belied with her own goddamn words. As I told you,
Janice.
we were talking about this yesterday. In one sentence, first she alienated all the leftists in her party by saying she supports Israel no matter what. And then at the end of the sentence, she said, but they have to stop committing genocide, which then alienated all the moderates. So
yes,
with one sentence, this nitwit alienated everybody.
That's par for the course.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you really, really, really want to see her tank, hand her a microphone.
Absolutely.
Oh, you know, we have to wonder about the passage of time, because time is time, and it passes, and the passage of time means that times has passed, and I mean, just please let her talk. And then you have that stupid cow press secretary, because Kamala Harris has proven herself. She's been vice president for more than 4 years.
Perfect.
Okay, you keep defending her like that, bitch.
Yeah, no, I mean these are flops, and when the money people start making the decisions, they make bad decisions because they don't know anything about it's the same. I used to write for a really brilliant music magazine, and the magazine decided they were going to let the advertisers determine the content of the magazine. So every magazine from that point was long-haired rockers who would endorse the product that the advertisers were selling. And
yes.
the magazine...
Well, that's what Rolling Stone became.
Exactly. And the magazine subscription went like this. The newsstand state sales went like that. And the magazine eventually folded because advertisers don't know anything about bringing people to a magazine. You know?
No, a good editor might.
Exactly.
Might.
And it's the same in Hollywood. The money people often make decisions based on nothing logical, and it blows up an otherwise viable film. So it's the same in politics. When you have, think about it. Think about the new Soros, the skinny guy who just got married to a Ukrainian or whatever. Soros's son. What's his name? Alex.
Alex.
Yeah. You think Alex Soros has any idea how politics, like what's good for countries and things like that? Of course not. But he's
No.
he's determining who's going to run and who's going to go up against Trump.
Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. By the way, Kel says that I'm not showing up in Odyssey. I am. I'm watching in another browser in a screen, and I'm showing up great. So just reload, I guess. Oh, Proclarus Taonas, thank you so much. Suddenly, half of my hotel room is paid for. Thank you so very much.
Very nice.
Appreciate it. You can't understand Kamala's genius because you haven't been unburdened by what has been. Either that or I lack imagination to see what it could be.
No, and this is somebody who thinks she's the smartest person in the room, like Obama. And we saw how Obama's 2 terms were. We saw the giant brain decisions he made. I mean, Kamala, see, I was sure that she wouldn't want to be president because I thought she'd at least know what a disaster Joe had been, and she would be saddled with that. But she's even dumber than I realized. So, she's so arrogant that she thinks she can do it.
Or she doesn't think. There are those people around her that are egging her on. I said in the introduction that Obama was the most intelligent person in a room only when he was alone in the crapper.
Yeah.
Kamala, when she's alone in the crapper, is the second most intelligent entity.
Well,
you'll get more out of the third.
She's never been. I mean, she made massive flop decisions in San Francisco. She made really dumb decisions that are all coming back to haunt her when she was a U.S. senator. She hasn't had the power to make any decisions as vice president.
Yep.
I heard some idiot from MSNBC saying that if Kamala is more qualified to be president than Trump is. And it's like, Trump has been president, you buffoon. What do you mean? But see, they're trying to gaslight people into forgetting.
Yeah. She's been preparing for this all of her life. She has a lot of executive experience. She's been a tough prosecutor in California.
Which is harming her.
I'm sorry, but are you aware of any case that Kamala prosecuted herself?
No, but I do.
Is there any record of how she performs in court?
No, but I am.
I don't think she would recognize the furniture in a courtroom because she's never been in one.
She's never been in one, and the decisions that her office made, such as releasing a killer, an illegal killer who wiped out an entire family because he took them for fellow gangbangers. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, her office in California was dreadful and contributed greatly to California's present predicament with the total absence of law or order.
And what works in California won't work in the rest of the country. Not even in New York. New Yorkers are rebelling. New York is in play. California is not in play because the people here are no longer sentient. The voters here are no longer sentient. They they're like that voter. I don't know if you saw it. It's this viral video of a Zoom call with a bunch of people. I think they're all black, but one of them said she's going to vote for Kamala because she's a black woman, and another of them just absolutely tore that position to pieces with facts, and it went super viral because he was saying that you're exactly the problem. That voting for someone because they're a black woman is it's like voting for someone because they wear shoes. I mean, it doesn't say anything about their capability and ignoring what they've already done.
The whole thing, this is all the DEI woke bullshit. It is okay to say I will vote for her because she's a woman. But it's not okay to say I will vote for him because he's a man.
Well, and
it is okay to say I will vote for her because she is black. But it is not okay to say I will vote for her because she is white.
Exactly.
You know, I'm so sick and tired of the bullshit.
Everybody is. Everybody is, with the exception of a tiny percent of the electorate.
Yeah. I hope so. I hope so. And by the way, I don't believe for a second some of the bullshit coming out of the drive-by media. She's leading in the polls. In Minnesota, it's possible because, you know, Minnesota is Minnesota. There's got to be something in the lutenfish that kills brain cells. Because I
know I have family members who deliberately moved there because it was to their liking on all levels, including politically. And, you know, you couldn't have a discussion with them about politics because they would immediately get angry and call you a fascist. Like instantly, right off the bat. Like,
yes.
who you vote for? You fascist.
Listen, when I went there in '82, and the idea was to live there, but I couldn't fucking stand it. Not only the winters, which really I couldn't fucking stand the winter, let's be honest. Sitting on a block of ice with my father-in-law was not my idea of fun. But you're correct. And at one point, you know, even though I still, you know, was kind of like becoming a very moderate conservative at the time, without having abandoned all of my socialist underpinnings. And I would say, no, but you can't do this. You can't have a minimum salary. It distorts the economy. It drives people out of business, and eventually it leaves people without work. And they would say, well, you say that because you're a fascist. And I would have to look at this and say, 3 years ago, I was in the concentration camp thanks to the fucking fascists, you moron. See, and what you are defending is an innovation brought about by fucking Mussolini. Who's the fascist now?
Well, also, in the case of my family members, if you try and discuss with them, they can't defend their positions in the slightest. So they just ignore everything. They just wait. They change the subject, whatever. It never occurs to them, holy God, I can't defend my positions. I mean, it was in Minnesota. It was some city in Minnesota or neighborhood of one of the big cities that proudly disbanded their police department, and it became the home invasion capital of the state. And
it's a suburb of Minneapolis, if I recall.
Right. They were very unhappy, but they were insistent that we not have police. And it's like, then shut up. I don't want to hear about your unhappiness. You're an idiot. You deserve everything that you're doing to yourselves. You know, you're hopeless.
And the only reason that they are not in worse shape is because 6 months out of the year, nobody ventures out of home.
Well, exactly. I mean, this is a state where they put salt on the roads, and you have to have a normal car and a winter car. And the winter car is the one that the whole underside is rotted with rust from salt.
From the salt.
Because you can't
and we used to keep that one running 24/7 in the garage.
Yeah. No, it's
You
just
couldn't turn the engine off because if that oil froze, the fuck if you were going to restart that car again until spring.
yeah. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't
It's
I
you know.
don't begrudge people their political positions, but when you're trying to convert me to your side, I mean, okay, I saw a video. I think I told you it was a young black man, and an off-camera guy asked him about Trump supporting Agenda 2025, and the guy completely debunked that whole thing. And when he was done, there was a pause, and then the guy off camera called him a racial slur equivalent to Uncle Tom. So the guy gives him facts, and suddenly he's an Uncle Tom.
Yeah,
So a good black man is a believer of lies, is a believer of delusions.
for that moron, yes.
Unbelievable. And
And for that matter, a good white man, a good Asian man, is a believer in lies. If you don't believe in lies, you're a fascist.
no, and
But by the way, we came 3 times close to crossing a boundary for YouTube, and we don't want to do that. So, people in YouTube, it's been almost almost 50 minutes. Not so bad. Remember, you can always click on. Actually, I don't know if I put the link for this show in YouTube yet, but I am gonna do it now while we speak. So just click on the link I'm going to add now, and you can come over here and continue watching in Odyssey. How about that? And hold on, let me do this first. I want to make sure it is there before we link to full video. And off you go. Now the link is there. All you have to do is refresh your browser. And having done that, it's time to bid you adieu. And